Hello and welcome to Eat Your Backyard, my YouTube channel, where I talk about all kinds of things and also beautiful tropical landscaping types of things. If you're interested in that, this might be the place for you. If so, subscribe. If you're already subscribed, thank you. Please hit the like button if you found any of this useful or enjoyable. Okay, so today we're going to talk about a incredible palm which I just fell back in love with, and that is the areca palm, the sugarcane palm, the palm tree that represents everything I love about gardening. Hey, Somali Flame, thanks for signing on. Always good to have you on board. First of all, we'll just go through some attributes of this thing. I've got a lot of videos on the channel about it because I love it so much, and because I bought this house 20 years ago, and this was here, and it's one of the things it's a very old areca palm, very old, and I've stumped and reclumped it many times, and it's taken everything. Yeah, appreciate it, Somali Flame. You bet you, man. All right. It's taken everything the world has thrown at it and come back strong and still revealed itself to be, I'm playing around with these ideas of illusion and enigma, but more of an enigma than an illusion. By that I mean, I keep trying to think I've got this palm tree solved, and it throws another angle at me, which I love. And that is that it is edible. Not the palm tree itself, but the fruit which it gives, which I had referred to as palm nuts and been stuffing in yard waste bins for years. This palm, as well as looking beautiful and having that coconut palm style frond, the Coco's palm has that similar structure. Gives it a beautiful appeal. It looks almost like a little coconut tree. But the the trunk rather, is really one of the most incredible features of this. They call it the sugarcane palm as a common name, and you could see why. It actually gets reds and yellows in the trunk. Has that very regular pattern. Actually, as it gets much older, they get this bark. And you can see the roots there are like every palm tree root, but they're much more above ground visible when they get to this size. Now, I've had to trim this areca palm back so many times. And, the reason is it's because it's near the 220 line that powers my house. And the other reason is it really responds well to trimming. It always comes back strong, and then I can kind of play around with where I want it to grow. Okay, so Jack and I actually made a video called the 3 Palm Nut Harvest. What a classic that one was. Super fun making it, actually. We harvested palm seeds from 3 palms that were all coming in our yard at the same time, and those 3 palms were the Robolini palm, the areca palm, and the Coco's palm. And I planted seeds from 2 of those this year. But what I did was also another just lay and let it go experiment, was what I call it, lay and let it go, which is to cut down the seed pods from here and then just lay it down anywhere in your yard and that you don't have to deal with much, and let it go. See what happens. So if you look here, and this is a fairly barren area of my yard. I dumped some of those areca seeds, and you can see what they look like. Now, these didn't sprout. This is a very dry area, so I think most of them died. I would not be, I say they didn't sprout. Look at that. Even then, see a little nut. Even then it sprouts. So you could do your germination rate calculation right here about how many seeds from one areca palm seed, and the rest become just mulch, so it's all good. Actually, kind of an interesting way to dispose of your palm seeds, I think, in a way, is to just dump them around, especially if they're low probability kind. But they're so easy to grow. Even here, this is a corner of my yard that gets almost no irrigation, really. But anyway, it's still found a way to grow. And I'll show you where I dumped the other ones. Oh, look at this. I'm going to take the canopy down. Okay, this is the other spot. No, this one still has the palm flower. Isn't that interesting? It just pulls right out. Every nut has dropped. It's got some sugar cane leaves on top of it. But there it is. Each one of those little dots on this thing was a seed spot. And they dropped. Now all of these were edible, I come to find out. Let's chuck that there. Lemons laying around. Yeah, so now I've created palm grass. You can see of these, which really looks like some soil got dumped in there, so they got partially buried, but not all of them. Most of them back here were just laying there. The ones that got completely buried are... no, I think actually this was already here, and it just rolled down this pile of sand, which is already here. Yeah, but tons of seeds. Now, I'm going to pull one out just so you can see. These are more arecas than I can possibly deal with. So this is not a loss I cannot take. But you see, the areca is a strong, it shoots up this initial shoot, then it sends down a taproot going for gold. And it's already sending out the side roots, and it's ready to go. And you can, the cool thing is I could repot this and it'll grow almost every time. It might be suffer a little bit from being so traumatized like this, but it'll typically grow. I'm just gonna put it out in the yard to get mowed up because I am gonna actually, I'm gonna pot this areca. And I've done this before and it's fun. You can make them very easily look like a great, I'm just gonna go overboard on areca. That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna put them in pots and you can easily make them look like a great little potted plant that you can put out as a decorative thing. So that's what I plan to do. I'm going to get some nice pots and plant these in there. I'll show you what they look like after they've been growing for a while. Excuse me. Oh, look at that. Man, my microgreens are going off. Red kale. Look at the redness. Red kale and red beets. See the redness in those two. Wow, that looks good. Here's the areca. These are just seeds I planted in an episode of What You Got Growing On. Just pushed them down in, and there you go. I think they all sprouted. And you can see again that classic look. And here are some I already took from that area. I just took a little shovel of them and stuck them in this pot and filled in with a little bit more soil. I can put soil farther up. This is the kind of palm tree doesn't really mind having the trunks buried a little bit more than where it started. So you can see they're doing just fine. They're not dead. They got probably a little bit traumatized, but otherwise looking great. Now this is also a great option if you live in an apartment or you live in a place where you need to grow palm trees inside. This one is strong enough to meet the challenge. So you can see in a couple different examples, both you can see how I planted them in the videos if you want. Try to remember to link back to those. But yeah, the areca palm, just a star. Now I'm going to show you another areca palm example. This is on the side of my house. Now this one is a younger palm. This one I planted from seeds which I harvested from that other areca palm. So it's younger, more vigorous, and beautiful. I mean beautiful. This one I planted in the right place, so to speak, but it's such a vigorous grower. Even planting it out a good 4 feet from the side of the house, which is usually a good practice, probably a little farther out would be a better practice, but I don't have any property left. But the corner of the house, the side of the house is already getting touched by the fronds, so I gotta get those off. These are all highways for bugs to get into the house. In Florida, you live in a jungle. These things are very important. But this thing grows so incredibly vigorously, and I really just get to pick which canes I want to grow. You see, this is the older cane. It's been around for a long time, worn by the years. The younger canes with that cool wax coating on them. There's actually a wax coating. Pretty interesting. But no seeds this time of year. When the seeds do come in, I'm going to do a video about eating them. I'm going to try to cook them. So tomorrow, well, actually throughout the day, I think into tomorrow, Florida is about to experience its first legitimate cold snap, where it will get down at lows in the 40s in my area, they say, which is very cold for this area. I'm actually kind of surprised we're going to get that temperature this early in the year. Tender things will be touched by 40 degrees for sure. But my yard usually does real well in that. But the bananas, the new growth in the bananas might get a little bit affected. You can see this is a good example of how incredibly resilient. I actually made a video about this too when I nubbed it, and I saw that it initially shot up a little shoot immediately after, like the day after I nubbed it, it had an 1.5 inch shoot coming out squared off at the top. Now you can see this thing is a full, it's amazing how vigorous it is. Just amazing. Look, here's where that nub was, where I'd cut it off initially. See, it just still grew out. Is that incredible? So this is one of the most resilient palms. Great choice for the yard. Great choice for indoor growing. Edible, interesting, novel, beautiful. I mean, the adjective list is very pleasant associated with this one. I recommend everybody get into it. And I thought I would share with you some of this Areca goodness to start your day. So yeah, why not grow an Areca palm? How hard would it be? I mean, not that hard. Ooh, by the way, my mulberry, which I'm going to trellis up the side here by bending down the branches, is doing quite well. Grew that one from a cutting. Beauty. But yeah, it's really just a matter of, here's the whole process of getting an Areca in your life. Just get some Areca palm seeds. I've got links in the description on where to get them if you want, or Areca plant off the internet, or you just find somebody with an Areca plant and get a handful of seeds. You throw them in a pot with that's just some regular old Miracle-Gro soil, and up they come. And then it's just light and water. And you can really have a cool plant. And if you grow them in a large enough area, you're going to get palm nuts, and those are even edible. They are very large, but of course they can be grown in clusters like this and stay fairly small. They'll ultimately outgrow the pot, but you'll get a good, 2 to 4 years like that probably, which is pretty cool. Now, I planted some things over the last 4 days in here in live streams, and I haven't seen anything except for this one. I need to go back and see which one I marked with the single branch, but I'll know soon enough. We have one of those seeds sprouting up. Pretty cool. The 50 pot challenge is actually running out of pots. I have only one more pot left to plant things in, so I'm now going to make the difficult choice of those pots which have not sprouted yet. I'm just going to repurpose them. I'm going to plant new things in them, not, to just see if the other thing that's in there, the palm seeds, like I planted very green sable palm seeds in this one, nothing. I'm very surprised about that. The Areca palm seeds I planted at the same time, same time, and they are doing great. Wow. Oh, that's so cool, Doreen. Yeah, up in Suwannee River. area, you're headed for some real cold weather down in the 20s. Whew. Yeah, that really limits the amount of things that you can, grow outdoors. But I think since it's so temporary, there are a lot of ways to mitigate it, right? Probably. Yeah. I can't believe this mulberry. This is a Persian mulberry that with some cuttings I was given by a neighbor of mine. I've never seen a mulberry tree give, I've seen it one fruit, but 3 fruit on the cutting. So cool. Okay, and I want to throw one topic out there to the viewers, which is, what do you know about pigeon peas? And the reason I ask is I am really curious about them, and I think I'm going to go start to look into them. I think I know where to take a look at some very mature, beautiful specimens of them as well. But what do you know about pigeon peas? If you know anything, throw a comment in. That'd be cool. Let me know if you're interested in them. Oh, you've had them, Dorian, but you've never grown them. That's very interesting to me. I've never had them, but I love peas. Do they taste like peas would be my next question. Or are they just called pigeon peas? Oh, wow, that's cool. They do taste like peas. Now I'm even more interested. The pigeon pea, I'll say bushes that I saw recently. Oh, they don't taste like peas. But they're flavorful. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, new flavor. Well, the specimens that I saw recently there were a few different colors of the flowers, and there were some of the fruit on the bushes already, but they were large. I've got the recycle truck going by. Yeah, and I don't know how easy they are to grow either, but I'll be making some videos with my one of my friends who knows all about them, and I'll research them. I think I'll do another video a lot like that Roselli video I did, the Florida cranberry video, where I give a little bit of information about the plant, how to grow it, where it's grown, background, and then ask an expert, look at some mature specimens that are already in the ground and ask for his or her advice as to how to proceed in growing them, when, where, how. Now these, while we're here, we might as well, are another pile. I don't grow, actually, okay, good question, Palms. I appreciate it and welcome. Stoked you're here. Do I grow, very focused into a pile of palm nuts. Kiwi, I've never grown kiwi, super interested in that. And so anything you can tell me about, I'm into. The pineapples, I've got 2 growing right here. Very small, kind of in a shaded location, so not optimal. But I might transplant these into pots. Pineapples in this area do very well in pots. And you can see they're alive here, but they're not thriving. Right, but how could you be when you're in this shaded area that gets almost 0 rain? But even in that condition, they can grow this much. It's right here by this giant edible cactus. But yeah, so this area where I'm in was actually a pineapple producing, like, agricultural spot in the early 1900s, late 1800s, but there was a freeze and it wiped out the entire pineapple industry. So that would be like before the age of knowing weather as good as we do now. Building a whole industry in a place and then realizing, oops. The Optunia, yeah. Nice. It's cool that you can identify it. It does. As a matter of fact, great question, Palms. Does the Optunia give fruit? Does the edible pad cactus, prickly pear, it's a variant of prickly pear, lots of types, does it give fruit? And the answer is yes. I just wanted to show it. don't think I'm getting a very good, I'll try to get it so there. Okay, let's see. Yeah, now when they're that little, you can see the one on the left has got little like points on it. Those are just soft little covers. The one on the right doesn't. That's where they've now got little tiny hair-like spines that get in your skin. If I can find a green one, I'll pick it. This looks pretty green. I think I have low spikeage from this one, so we're gonna go for it. And they actually give a beautiful red flower, bright red flower. I'm looking to see if I got the spines on my thumb. Not too much. They're just like little hair annoying things that get in there. The tweezers get them right out, or a piece of Scotch tape. But yeah, prickly pears. Now the cool thing is, and I'll actually plant this here. You can, in future videos, you can see what will happen. I'm going to plant it in the least favorable spot, which is just in the shade right here. Just bury it partially, leave it above ground for the most part. It's going to grow a cactus, right? For sure. Yeah, so we started with the Areca palms and wound up picking prickly pears. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never actually eaten the fruit. I'll have to maybe give it a try eventually. There's not much to it. Prickly pear, the kind that has the thorns here locally, that's very common wild, I've had, and it's good. In fact, I ought to do a prickly pear eating video. Yeah, I'm going to actually replace 2 of my Japanese yew shrubs in the front of my house with a croton. My wife and I were discussing this the other day, and it's not hard to figure out why you would do that. I'm in Florida. Yep. Eastern Central Florida. I've got to decide which croton to plant, and it seems a shame to plant this very common variety, although it's incredibly beautiful and resilient, when there's so many other options. So I've just got to weigh my options and think about it. I would also this year plan on 2021, I should say, expanding my croton collection to include more. Over the years, here's another one. Over the years, I've played around with them, so I have some interesting varieties. I think this one's one of the more interesting varieties. Certainly, it has oak leaf tendency in it. So, isn't that interesting? The irregular leaf pattern of the croton is one of the, to me, the most fascinating things. In terms of tropical plants that aren't edible or not edible, to me, croton really is the top of the list. Do I have coconuts? No longer do I have coconuts, although I'm working to get them back in my life. I actually have my friend looking to get a yellow Malaysian dwarf coconut. So I'm going to be re-coconutting. I had a dwarf Malaysian yellow coconut, and it got a bad, like a leaf mite, whitefly, whatever problem, and I took it down because I didn't want to. It was gigantic, and I didn't want to try to remediate it with chemicals or any of that. Oh yeah, they can definitely. Those palm trees of many types can die in my area, but we rarely get a freeze. We rarely get one. Won't never get a ground freeze, but it will occasionally freeze here, and most of the plants can survive a slight smack like that, and most people will wrap their things up and heat them or whatever to save them when that happens. But I don't think that's. I kind of look at it like the space between freeze events is far enough that plant whatever you want, tropical wise. Plant it, and if the freeze gets it, well, you know, plant something new. There's your opportunity. Re-up, reshape, repaint. You know, the yard. So that's kind of how my view on freezing and growing tropical things in this area, which is, you know, right at the Tampa, Orlando line across Florida. We're right on that edge of that subtropical zone. Now, if you get down into Miami, you're fully in an area that's never going to freeze, or only in the, you know, crazy event would ever encounter that. So the farther south you get in Florida, of course, progressively insanely beautiful. Majesty Palm. I do not have a Majesty Palm. I have some neighbors that have, all caps, epic Majesty Palms, which I'm going to plan to make a video of. Actually, when Jack and I bike around, you know, he always points out that those are the biggest palm trees around, but the circumference of them, yeah, I almost am thinking of planting Majesty Palms on my curb. I've been really debating what to plant there. I was thinking about coconuts at one point, even though that's kind of crazy. Foxtails, another good option. But the Majesty is like the foxtail and then some. Those, yeah, incredible. That's a great choice. And then there's also the Puerto Rican hat palm I like. The Bismarck palm, certainly. There's a form of Bismarck palm that is that grayish, greenish, kind of distinctive, huge fan palm that is a little smaller. And the name's not occurring to me now, but kind of the Bismarck palm has these flat fan palms, and then the other kind of palm I'm talking about, which is slightly different, has like a middle part where it just kind of droops down in the middle. So it's a fan palm that has a arc on it. I was considering both of those, but the name of the one doesn't come to me right now. Oh, that could be it, Latanya. Yeah, that could be it. Another thing, just to let everybody know, is I'm planning on figuring out how to make a rudimentary hat with palm fronds. First of all, because I think that'd be a fun activity to do with Jack, and I'd like to have a palm tree hat. I'm not saying I would ever wear it, but I'd like to have it. I'd like to be prepared for the need for a palm tree hat. So we're gonna, yeah, I've got to, and those Puerto Rican hat palms obviously are perfect Bismarck palms as well. They have such incredibly long, fibers. You're gonna, oh wow, Dorian, you're getting some cold hardy avocado. That's cool. What is the Del Rio is one of the varieties. Wow. I have tried avocado and not had a lot of success here, and I think primarily the reason why I haven't had success, oh look, my picker's laying down. Primarily the reason I haven't had success is because of the saltiness of my irrigation. It's very salty. And I think they hate that. They drop all the leaves and die. I wish I could find a salt, at least survivable variety. Like that's for mangoes, it's like that. You find salt survivable, or you find ways to have them survive the saltiness. Oh, okay. Sugarcane palm won't survive in South Carolina. Yeah, no, not in the ground, no way. But in a pot, like a big pot. That's the thing, a real big pot. Like check it, the size of like this pot. Everybody should have a pot like this in their backyard. A place where you just, let me see if there's a creature living in it. But yeah, like a pot this size, big pot, to me would be perfect. And I bet you could get the Eureka fruit there, and it would also look really, ornate. Oh, huge fabric pots. That's cool, Dorian. Yeah, huge fabric pots are a great idea. I know Callie Kim uses those. She has like a whole line of fabric pots, but yes, this is another gardener that does stuff like this and has big success. Kind of puts them on a hillside too, and make optimal use of the area. I'm gonna walk along these dracaenas. Oh, the soil here drains very well, palms. Yeah, very well. The soil is something like sand. You can see it's just very, very loose sand. With some organic material in it from over the years. And you can see all the Suriname cherries that are dropping. They should be dropping into my face, not onto the ground. I gotta get up there and get some. But just to get back to this point I was on, is that this is a good example of the salty irrigation effect and getting the variety, whatever the adverse condition is in your area, whether it's your soil, amount of rain, the temperature, the salt, in the case of living so close to the ocean. This is a Edward mango, And it's just taken forever for it to get up above the line of my sprinklers, which is something like, and I'll make the sound right here. So now it's above it and it's thriving. Still no fruit. Flowered many times, but it's above and now has a chance. But it was like, no way. It's going to drop fruit every time as soon as it gets some salt on it. This Hayden mango, I went through that similar process with that. It's just so vigorous, such a vigorous grower. So how these 3 mango trees, 1, 2, 3, that's Edward, that's a Hayden, that's a Tommy Atkins. How these 3 mango trees handle the adverse conditions which I'm up against here, which are not that bad, but I would say probably freezing temperatures, you know, the unlikely event of freezing temperatures or intermittent event of freezing temperatures, and the saltiness. And then we also have things that, you know, other things like the drought-like conditions we get here, because it gets very dry here, but I've mitigated that with a sprinkler system. So, but in terms of saltiness, these 3 varieties, the Edward really struggled. The Hayden struggled, just grew right up through it, like a weed. The Tommy Atkins also thrived right away. In fact, it didn't even seem to care about the saltiness. So, you know, comparing these 3, most salt resistant, Tommy Atkins. Second most, Hayden, least, Edward. Yeah, mangoes are another thing that you could grow in a very large pot. If you get the right variety, especially. I would say like that Tommy Atkins mango, that's one, you know, you really, there's hundreds of varieties of mango trees, but if you get the right one, they grow quite well in a pot. And then you just pull it inside, maybe, hopefully, if you have the ability, you know, to put something like that. Or keep it trimmed low, like in mango orchards, agricultural applications of mangoes, they don't allow their mango trees typically to get like this, to get huge and super thick woody trunk. You know, they try to minimize the amount of wood in the tree and maximize the amount of branches, and also make it so that it's pickable. Like that up there, that's not pickable. This is ridiculous at this point, right? So, but here I could almost get by hand everything. This one now starting to get up there, but to manage the height and maximize the branches all the time is a cool part of mango tree growth. If you handle it like a crop, you can produce a lot. Of course, when they're planted in the ground like this, they just turbo. But this one could have been managed better as it was lower, right? Because there's only 2 primary trunks here, which you really should have 4, right? Because you're always splicing it to make more and more and more branches. The more branches, the better. I think I'll have one of these. This time of year, the star fruit are super ripe. Yeah, I'm located between Cape Canaveral and Sebastian Inlet. Okay, well, thank you. Signing on. This was a great stream. Appreciate everybody's input. It was super cool. Learned a bunch as well. Let me know any other ideas in the comments. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, hit the like button and tell all your friends to subscribe. Or don't. Have a great day.